Hello, and welcome to a little teaching video series that I'm going to be doing for you guys. Um, I've been running Joy Training for over 5 years now, and I used to do Zoom calls on a regular basis, especially when I started the business and I worked solely online. Now I get to see you guys in the gym. It isn't as necessary, but I feel like it's a big part that's missing from my offering, and that's why I'm bringing it back in this format because that way you can dip in and listen if you want to, but you don't have to, and there's no specific time frame for it. I'm going to bring back some of the good slideshows that I've written in the past because they're still fully relevant. Because if you've got a direction and you've got a protocol and it works, it's going to be that protocol forever. And I'm going to use, as I teach you guys, there'll be four main videos, which is my 4T process, which is track, macros, and it is training really well. It is thoughts become things. And the fourth one is your tribe, community, and coaching. And then there might be little offsets from those four videos, but those will be the four building blocks for your success. So we're going to start with tracking macros and calories. I'm going to refer to my Nutrition 101 slideshow, which was really good. I'm going to try and fly through it. I'm aware that some of you are completely brand new to how to eat and how to log food and what even are macronutrients or micronutrients. And some of you are competitive athletes and know exactly how to eat. But I'm hoping that either I can tell you one new thing from this talk or that I can remind you of things that you might have forgotten. Probably I'm going to remember stuff too. So without further ado, let's crack on. So calories are an energy rating for food. In a big convection oven, if I could speak, a big convection oven, if that food was burnt to a crisp, the energy that it released is its calorie value. And the macronutrients are the constituents of that food, and they can only be carbohydrates, proteins, or fats. Fiber makes up part of carbohydrate. And so macronutrients have a value. So 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. And also 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. But 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So it's more than double. And so that's why fat gets a bad rap because it's got a high calorie value. So people will say we need low fat because you're overeating on fat, but actually, kind of the real damage doer in the food industry is refined sugar. And that is because it is so prevalent in all of our food sources now. And listen, I don't demonize carbs. I love carbs. They are the brain's favorite fuel source, and they're the quickest, most efficient fuel source when you're training and moving. But it is easy to overdo it with them, and they can cause a lot of damage when you do. Proteins are the building blocks. We're going to talk about those. Proteins repair your muscle, and fats are really important for your endocrine hormonal system, and particularly monounsaturated fats, the healthy fats. So you've got your macronutrients laid out here. And really, the point that I'm getting to with this talk is that calorie in, calorie out is not enough. My Staiku machine will set your calories for you, and it's very accurate. And I'm using it right now for my shred, but it doesn't tell you how to divide it up into macronutrients. And if all you did was had like 1,500 calories worth of carbs a day, you're going to get fat. You're going to have no, and that's because you won't be improving your muscle mass. So it's going to start to atrophy. So you'll be more body fat and you'll get sick because there's nothing helping your immune system. You're going to feel bad. So I'm going to show you some interesting studies that support how actually it's really hard to overeat on proper, pure protein. So let's crack on. So just like I was saying to you, I'm going to touch on these slides, but the reason I'm sharing them is because I want you to be able to have them and keep them and read them for yourself. But I've explained to you why macronutrients are important. I've actually given here an example of a pharmaceutical drug that you can take. which has 0 calorie value, prednisone, and this is just one example, there are many, but it works by raising the blood sugars naturally in the system, which means that there was this guy that put on tons of weight. This happens a lot with corticosteroids, even though he wasn't eating any more food, just the pharmaceutical drug alone. It was to do with increasing the insulin release because when the blood sugar levels rise, insulin is released by the pancreas to shuttle it off, hopefully into the muscle cells. But if you're not moving, then it will get stored as body fat. And that's what happened here. So I'm using this as an example to explain that macronutrients are so important. It's not just calorie in, calorie out. This guy didn't have any more calories in, but he put on weight from the pharmaceutical drug because of the response that it caused his body to have. Our endocrine system is hugely important. Our body is made for a purpose. When we do things that are unnatural, even if it's for the right reason for our health, we can expect, there's always a yin to the yang. Um, so I wanted to just explain that how you divvy up your macros is really important. I like this study. This is an old school one that I've shared with some of my older clients might remember this one. So they took, this was a National Institute of Health study. They took 3 groups. There were 90 people in each group. And so these were all obese, insulin resistant people. They were not using insulin. And each of the 3 groups were given 2 shakes and drinks, and each drink was 200 calories each, and they could consume that each day in addition to their regular meals. Nothing else changed, so they kept the variables the same. Group 1 received 400 calories worth of maltodextrin shake, which is carbohydrate. Group 2 received 400 calories of soy protein shake, so that's not animal, that's from soy. Group 3 received 400 calories of whey protein, which is an animal derivative protein powder, probably the one you've mostly heard of. According to the calorie advocates, an additional 400 calories a day to these obese individuals should result in weight gain no matter what the macronutrient intake. But what was discovered after 10 weeks of the study was the following. Group 1, the carbohydrate maltodextrin, they gained body fat and their waist circumference increased. Well, we would expect that because they had 400 calories extra a day, because we don't care what that was made of, but wait. Group 2, soy protein, they lost a very small amount of weight. Nothing statistically significant, but they lost a small amount of weight. They had 400 extra calories a day, but it was purely of soy protein drinks, and they were losing weight. Okay. Group 3, whey protein, they lost body fat, they gained lean muscle mass, and they decreased their waist circumference. So I've had it many times in bodybuilding where I've been dieting into a show, and most of my calories have come from whey protein drinks, and I've been like, it's managed to really hold my muscle for me, which has been absolutely fantastic. And you losing weight anyway, in a way that you might not if you were having carbohydrates. So this is quite hard to swallow for people that only believe in calorie in, calorie out. We're far more sophisticated beings than that. And it means you've got control. So you can choose how you divvy out your macronutrients, and you really want to put your emphasis on protein, because if you build your muscles, that is the long-term gain. That will raise your metabolic rate, which is the amount of energy you burn just standing still. If you can raise that, then if you do lower your food, you don't need to lower it so much and you'll lose body fat really easily. Or you can maintain on a higher amount of food because you're burning more fuel, because you're a more fuel efficient burning machine. So an explanation of this is that the carbohydrates cause weight gain because of increased insulin production, which is a fat storage hormone. So insulin knows how to store fat, that's its job. The soy protein group, they kind of had what's called a neutral nutrient partitioning effect because there wasn't a lot of change, but at least they didn't add weight. In fact, they lost a tiny little bit. And then the group 3 that had the whey protein, and whey protein is extremely high in branched chain amino acid, a particular one called leucine. which is not in soy protein. And leucine stimulates the metabolic machinery of the body to build muscle and use stored body fat to fuel the process. So for all those people that are against whey protein shakes, just get yourself a clean one. It doesn't have to have sugar or fat. If it is a pure whey protein isolate, it is a very healthy choice. Here's the study, right? And I've had whey protein for years and years and been in great nick while other people around me get sick. um, yeah, by simply adding 2 whey protein shakes per day on top of what a person is already eating, lean muscle mass will increase and body fat will decrease. I think that's really interesting, really interesting. And you could probably get a very similar effect from very lean meats, white ones. So like turkey, to some degree, chicken breast, white fish. Okay, so I always tell my people when you train in the gym, you're tearing your muscles. When you eat protein, you're repairing your muscles. When you sleep, they grow. And I just think this is kind of interesting slide. Protein comes from the Greek word prime importance. And unlike carbs and fats, protein contains nitrogen. So amino means nitrogen containing. So when you hear amino acids, they contain nitrogen, which is really important for recovery. There are 20 amino acids and 12 the body can make itself, but 8 need to be taken from diet or supplements. We want to be in a positive nitrogen balance to grow muscle. And many of our hormones are made from protein. For example, growth hormone, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, and progesterone. So that's how important protein is. If you were really starving on a very like far into a deep diet, which I hope you guys never are in that position, but the body will start to become catabolic, which means it's using muscle as a fuel source. And it will use protein as a fuel source because it's not getting enough carbs or fats. Um, I recommend 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight. If you come on my PsyQ machine, you'll find out exactly what your lean mass is because it actually shows you the weight of your body fat and of your lean muscle mass and of your bone mass. And if we add together the lean muscle mass and the bone mass, we're going to know our true lean body weight. So I really recommend you guys to do this to get an accurate idea of what your lean mass is right now. And then you can accurately find out what 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein is per pound of lean body weight. And you just have to convert your kgs, if you weigh yourself in kgs, into pounds. Men could have a lot more, or females that are really trying to add muscle could have a lot more, but that's just a baseline. And if someone's a lifestyle client and they're just wanting to get a bit healthier, I say shoot for 100 grams of protein a day as a start. Branched chain aminos are 3 of the 8 essential aminos. So if you see these on packagings, it's BCAA is branched chain or EAA. They're the essential ones and they're the most important. If I'm going to buy a pot of anything to add to a shake, it will be the essential ones. And branched chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and they make up 1/3 of the skeletal muscle mass. Yeah, they encourage fat loss while sparing muscle protein. So these are really, it's really great to be able to take in branched chain or essential amino acids in a drink or in your meals. Okay, carbs. They're a great source of fuel. As I mentioned, they're the brain's favorite fuel. They all break down into glucose no matter what. It's just how quickly they do it. Complex carbs take longer to digest than simple carbs. So they give you more energy and they don't raise your blood sugars as quickly. So we're talking oats, rice, pasta. Oats and pasta have got really high fiber as well, or higher fiber too, which is good to know. Whatever you don't use gets stored in the liver and the muscles as glycogen. Storing in the muscles is fantastic. You look really full and you're strong. Storing in the liver, not so good because you get a fatty liver and nobody wants that. And actually, if you get a fatty liver, what happens is it tries to get rid of the glucose. Sometimes it does that in the night and you wake up with high fasted blood sugars, which no one wants. If our blood glucose drops, so a little bit, we will take from the liver first, which is why I really hate if my clients are on metformin, because metformin is a medication which is designed to stop the liver releasing glucose because the doctor is trying to help the patient reduce their blood sugar levels. Very wise. Nobody wants to be waking up with high fasted blood sugars. But if that patient comes to me and starts learning how to train and changing their life, and the GP doesn't know that, then eventually what happens is they could be in their training, they could be using the glucose in that liver to get rid of it naturally, but they can't because metformin won't let them. So I have had a successful case study with a client who has been off it for over a year now, and blood sugars are lower than when on it. But I would not suggest anybody does that without some kind of intervention and like very carefully monitoring on a week by week with bloods. But it just gives you an idea of if you can allow the body to balance itself and if you're living a healthy lifestyle, it generally will. It likes to be in balance. Um, yes, we use stored glycogen in our muscles to perform muscle contractions when we do strength training. So that's why it's good to have carbohydrates after training to replenish that glycogen supplies and aid recovery. Also, if you're doing very hard intensive training, I'm thinking kind of a bit like what I do for obstacle course racing or Spartan or CrossFit, things that are very high endurance but last a long time. After about 45 minutes, you're probably going to need to take an intra-workout carbohydrate to put back into the muscle cells before they deplete, because then your performance will dip. You want to catch that before the performance dips. If you take creatine, take it after training with a carbohydrate that will push the creatine into your muscle cells, which is good. 1 gram of carb holds 3 grams of water, which is why oftentimes, so that means you're retaining that much water when you have 1 gram of carb, which is why if people are on quite a high carb diet, they feel bloated, or if they've been away on holiday or they've had a night out, they're holding water. Sometimes if they've had a night out, because it's takeaway food, there's a lot of sodium. So sodium holds water too. So you feel bloated, you feel fat. You're not fat, you're holding water. You didn't put on body fat in 1 day or 2 days, maybe 7, maybe 10, but not overnight. So that's why when people do a ketogenic diet, they feel like they've lost so much weight in the first week, it's just water weight because they're not really having much carbs, under 20 grams. Yes. So carbohydrates are an excellent source of fiber, which is why when people start dieting, they really struggle to poop because they're not getting their fiber. And we should try and hit 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. If you can't, it is valuable to take a supplement, which I like, called Fiberlize by Species Nutrition. 2 scoops daily is 18 grams of fiber, but it is a pure source of soluble and insoluble fiber. So it's not absorbed by the bloodstream, it moves straight through. If you get enough fiber, you're avoiding colon cancer because you're moving toxicity. You're binding all your food together and then pushing it through the colon. The colon is a muscle. It gets lazy if you only juice all the time. It needs to have hard food to move along. That's what keeps it in good shape. Insoluble fiber promotes growth of healthy bacteria, avoids constipation. Insoluble fiber is in fruit skins, vegetables, whole grain cereals, and rice. And soluble fiber means it's soluble in water and it lowers cholesterol by inhibiting fat digestion, which is really good. And low density lipids, they're the bad ones. So soluble fiber reduces that. And it controls blood sugar levels. So really important. Oh yes, sorry. And that's also in fruit skin, but also in oats, kidney beans, and sweet corn. Those are some examples of soluble fiber. Or just take Fiberlize because it's easy to drink. Fats are a fuel source. The brain can be trained to take fuel from fat, ketones, which is a ketosis diet. Ketosis means the brain is taking its fuel from fat ketones, not carbs. Fats are super important for hormonal endocrine system health. If people don't get enough good fats, the monounsaturated kinds and some polyunsaturated kinds, then their hormonal system is compromised and that starts to impact on the thyroid. And you'll see it in the hair and the skin, right? So, um, anyway, sorry. All fats are made of triglycerides, and dietary fats are not broken down in water, so they take the longest to digest, which is why you shouldn't have fats before bed, because they're hard to digest and your digestive system will be kicking off and it'll give you nightmares. That's why they say don't eat cheese before bed. It's hard to digest. Bile is required to digest fats. So if someone's had their gallbladder removed, then they can't really handle fats in their diet so much anymore. And muscle cells use fats, and liver transforms glycerol into glucose for energy. Um, yeah. Fats are needed for insulation. If you ever diet yourself down far enough, which I've done for bodybuilding, you will discover this to be true because you can sit in the bath and get a bruise on your bum because you don't have insulation of fat anymore. So it's important, believe me. You have fat in places you don't even know, and you need it because if you lose enough fat, you will lose it off the bottom of your feet and you'll be shorter in height. If you're a female shaving your armpits, the razor disappears deep into the hole of your armpit. Um, yeah, you need fat for insulation, okay? Protecting the internal organs. Um, some vitamins are soluble, they're fat soluble. So I'm going to check on the next slides, but I believe they're the ones that you have to take with food. A, D, E, and K vitamins. You can't take them without food because they need to be broken down by fats. The transport, yeah, they need to be transported with 20 grams of dietary fat. Um, but we've got another slide on that. Fats help regulate female menstruation. If people diet very, very heavily down for bodybuilding or any other reason, then that can stop. Menses stops, and that reduces your fertility. And you start to see quite like low estrogen traits as hair falling out, skin being poor quality, you know, less elasticity in the skin, just signs of low estrogen. Saturated fats are the bad ones because they're saturated in hydrogen, which leads to heart disease. Saturated fats are in a lot of dairy, beef, pork, lamb. So you can have these in small amounts, but don't try not to have too much. And I would say like I'm a big fan of the 5% fat beef mince. So if I'm gonna make a spaghetti bolognese, which I love, I use the 5% fat. Um, yeah, and I keep dairy to a minimum, actually. Probably just really the high protein yogurts I use. Unsaturated fats are usually liquid at room temperature. That's how you can tell. So I'm thinking coconut oil. Monounsaturated are the healthiest, and polyunsaturated, some you can have some, and that's like sunflower oil, soybeans, and corn oil. Cholesterol is found in animal products and it is naturally produced in our bodies in the liver and intestines. So we don't need to consume them in the diet as we do already create them. And I thought that was quite important because vegans aren't getting any, um, they're not really taking in any cholesterol. And I was thinking, how do they cope? But we make it ourselves. Excuse me, LDLs, they're the bad cholesterol. They're more cholesterol than protein. And they deposit themselves in the artery walls as plaque. And that's the risk of heart disease because it's hard for the blood to pump through the arteries. If it's blocked, it's narrowed. And then the heart's having to work super hard to get that blood through. And yeah, that can cause collapse and then stents need to get put in. High density lipids, HDLs, more protein than cholesterol. These are good because they remove deposits of cholesterol from the artery walls and they hoover up the LDLs and put them back in the liver to be turned into bile and sent out the body. So we really want to have high HDL cholesterol. So it's not just about, oh, I've got high cholesterol. What type? Because a high HDL is fantastic and you can improve it with a healthy lifestyle, HDL. Um, oh, yes, I've just written here that we really need for the essential fats, we really need omega-3 fish oils and omega-6 plant oils. What are micronutrients? So we've talked about calories, we've talked about macronutrients that make them up. What are micronutrients? They're vitamins and minerals. They are within the macros. And they are the reason that, when people say don't eat fruit, it's just sugar. Yeah, but it's more valuable because it's got vitamins and minerals in it, whereas a spoonful of refined sugar hasn't. So this is when a little bit of education is bad because there's more to the story. Fruit is good for you because of the vitamins and minerals. Doesn't matter that it's a form of carbohydrate. Micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals. Some of the vitamins, which is all the B vitamins and C, they're water soluble. So they dissolve in water, B and C, and they cannot be stored in the body. So excessive amounts just get peed out. And this is why a lot of top athletes, especially bodybuilders, they'll take a lot of B vitamins, a lot of C vitamins. Tennis players take like something over 1,000 milligrams, or is it mcg, of vitamin C a day, because it's required for the athlete's body. The athlete's body needs a lot more than someone that's just living a sedentary lifestyle. And I guess they know that anything they don't need is just going to get peed out anyway, but it helps them perform. We tend to lose these vitamins when we wash and prepare veg and fruit. So we're told to save the cooking water to make gravies because that's where the good vitamins are. Similar for bone broths. The remaining vitamins, which is A, beta carotene, D, E, and K, are fat soluble, meaning they're stored in the fat cells and liver until needed. It is easy to overdose on these ones. And I've had very high vitamin D levels before, but I was happy with that because I knew that I needed that much vitamin D for athletic performance. Um, I base a lot of the amounts of vitamins I take on Species Nutrition. My old coach, Dave Palumbo, created that line. I've been using it since 2016. And the amounts within V Mineralize are exactly right for an athlete. So you have to take 10 tablets a day. But he said himself there's not quite enough vitamin D or D3. So I always used to take an extra supplement of that, which I might start again, actually. It's a good reminder. With a poor diet or inability to absorb fats, like if you have Crohn's or cystic fibrosis, then you wouldn't get enough of these, so you might need special farm grade fat soluble vitamins. So I've listed out here because I think it's super interesting, and it might just move my little picture. So the eye's missing from daily. That's annoying. These are all the water soluble vitamins, what they do in the body, and the sources that you'll find them in, and daily recommended intake. Although for athletes, I'm sure that I would probably have it higher. So I'll let you read these at your leisure. And then I'll move my picture. And there's some more water soluble ones. Okay. Fat soluble ones. And then we're on to minerals. So we've got macro elements, of which we need more than 100 milligrams a day, which is calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, and sulfur. And we have micro elements, trace elements, of which we need less than 100 milligrams a day: iron, copper, zinc. Now, I wrote this slideshow in 2020 when it was lockdown, and we knew that we needed a lot more zinc to keep us healthy against COVID. So I challenged the amount of zinc that a person would need there. Just quickly talking, you hear a lot about free radicals. You hear about it in skincare because they cause aging and tissue damaging and disease. And they are in skincare because a lot of free radicals come from the external environment. But there are free radicals in like if you burn meat. So you should try not to burn meat because then it increases these free radicals in the food. Antioxidants naturally occur in some foods and they slow down and repair oxidative damage. Um, they're found abundantly in beans, grains, fruit and veg, especially the brightly coloured ones, which also happen to be the highest sugar ones. But you also find antioxidants in tea, coffee. I'm a big advocate. Red wine, garlic, tomato, ketchup, and onions are rich in antioxidants. Probably tomato is better than tomato ketchup. And then here I've listed out all the minerals and sources. And now some supplements that I recommend in order of importance. Species Nutrition will always be top of the rack for me. Costs a lot of money, worth every penny. What price on my health? So this is V Mineralize, which is an all-inclusive multivitamin mineral formula, which you can, because it's American. Dave lives in America, in Florida, actually. You can buy it through Predator Nutrition in the UK, and that's the only UK distributor that I know of. Occasionally, you can get them through third parties on Amazon, but they're not coming from the UK. They'll be coming from like Germany or whatever. So it takes just as long, and it's the shipping because to ship from America it's super expensive, but to ship from the UK not so bad. This is the one I recommend for vitamins. If you couldn't get it or didn't want to spend, Solgar is a very clean make, very clean. I like. They certainly used to stock this at 100% Health because I used to buy it from there. And there'll be a men health one as well. And this is the female multiple one. Fiberlize, I mentioned to you, 9 grams of fiber per scoop. Build up slowly because it you won't like the consistency because it turns very quickly to jelly. That's its job. If it was watery, it wouldn't work. It needs to fill out the colon and push through. But I'm going to add this in actually. It's not because it's not stored at all by the body as carbohydrates. It simply moves the food through. So this is, here you go, free calories. It's not stored at all. So I'm going to actually bring this into my diet again now that I'm doing my 6 week shred. Omega a brilliant omega-3. I think it's 3 hour, yeah, 3 and 6. It hasn't got 9 in it, I don't think, or has it? Maybe not. It's got palmitoleic acid, omega-7 as well. I love this supplement and I need to bring it back. So I've got some up there. I'm going to use it. You need to take this with food. So it's kind of annoying. You can't take it at the beginning of the day unless you're eating something at that time of day. This is another great, Peak Supplements are a great company if you don't want to spend species prices, and they do a 369. 9 is sunflower oil. Yeah, that's a good product too. And then Arthrize, the best joint formula. I never like to run out. I've run out at the moment. I've got some coming because it's just the best. And I feel like it's kept me in amazing shape for just so many years. Like I would never change. It's so good. And it's the dosage that you need. Isolize, a very clean whey protein powder. Um, excuse me. Anyone that finds their stomach are impacted will get on fine with this. It's gluten free. It's got digestive enzyme complex. Very, very good. If you don't want a whey protein, beef protein powder. Love this boy. I take this all the time. It drinks like a cordial drink. And there's different flavors. If anyone knows, I do muscle finesse orders. If you're my client and you want to order this, let me know because I can order it for you at cost. Amino Evolved, a fantastic essential amino acid supplement, which you can take in a drink throughout your day. And you can take that throughout your training as well. Basically, protein. Somalize is great if you're dieting. It helps you sleep when you're dieting because your body wants to wake up because you're hungry. So this is a really great product that Species do, which I've used in the past. Got some great things like GABA, NACAL, carnitine. Good products for helping you sleep, although there's many other good ones too. I mentioned that I like to take an extra vitamin D3 supplement. I like a liquid one. Solgar do a good one. But you can get anything really. Echinacea if you're not feeling good. I haven't used this for ages, but it's great for your health just to take it in a drink. And turmeric and black pepper, a staple of mine. I still use that now. Curcumin, it has to have the two together and then it's easily absorbed by the body. Okay. And then I just wanted to finish. I think that we've done pretty good. Um, Tips. You see, for me, I have no problem with protein bars and things like that because ultimately, if you are going to make better choices because it's easier to grab a hold of, good. If it is the difference between you grabbing a Mars bar and a Grenade protein bar, good, because that's going to be less calories and it's going to do less harm to your body and it's got higher protein. My biggest tip is to make life easy for yourself. If you love cooking, then do it. You know, there are many personal trainers out there who are really passionate about ingredients and stuff. If I want to do ingredients for my clients, I pay a chef to put them together for me. And that's what I've done with my fakeaways recipes and all the rest of it. Um, I like to keep things simple because I'm very busy and I don't even have kids. So, like, if I had kids, I'd be even more busy. So, my tips are frozen vegetables. They're flash frozen, they are very healthy. You can just eat the amount you need and put it back in the freezer. So, like, frozen meat, frozen everything, man, and then just leave it out the night before to defrost and it's there for you. Um, if you're going to have a treat meal, make it something really delicious and just go out and have it. So, like, I love cake. So, if I'm going to have a treat meal, I'll go up to Ransoms and like buy a piece of their most delicious, expensive cake, have it there, and that's it, I'm done. Rather than buy a cake and have it in my house, because I'm going to feel like I need to finish it all. Because we have this feeling that our bodies are dustbins and we should have to finish it because to get our money's worth, which is totally wrong. But also, if you are a binge eater or someone that can overeat, which is I am, I would consider myself um, a recovering addict. You know, it's something I work on every day because, by the way, you never reach this pinnacle of being perfect at anything in health and fitness. You can never rest on your laurels and say, I've done it now. I'm a robot. I eat good. I train good. It's a constant work. That's the beauty of it. You get to practice every day. So I know if I would have a whole cake in house, I'll eat a whole cake. I just will. I'll pull it out the bin. That's how hungry I've been in the past. So when I go out to have that meal, whether it's cake or a meal out with a friend or whatever, it's part of the pomp and ceremony is going to that place, being in that environment, enjoying the scenery, enjoying the company, and then coming back and getting back on it again. I think that's a really handy tip for treat meals because if you're disciplined enough to just have a delicious meal at home, then that's totally fine. But if you're not, and it's going to impact on your progress, then go out and have it and then come back and get back to the grind. So frozen foods, treat meals out. Log your dinner first, because for me, that's the biggest meal of the day, and it is for most people. And also for families, it's where they're going to like have the most difference every day and they're going to all come together, which you should. That's so nice. So try and log dinner first. And then in the day, you can control what you have in the lead up to that with your meals one and meals two. Also, try if you can to cycle carbohydrates around your training because you really do need some carbs before and you really do need some carbs after. That's really important. Um, so the carbs before might be 2 or even 3 hours before for me, if you're about to do some kind of enduro workout, which is like burpees and like really stuff that's going to make you feel sick. Um, or I might just have like a little bit of honey, like an hour and a half before, because I know I can stomach that. But afterwards, I want to get my banana in, I want to get my creatine and my beef protein in. So, and cycling carbohydrates around your training means you better utilize them. They go straight into the muscle as glycogen. So that's a good use. It's unlikely to be stored as body fat because that's your anabolic window, as they refer to it. Tips, drink a lot of water. Geez, super important. Important for your health, important for your volume because we're mostly water. Important for your cognition, important for your skin. Um, you hold water intramuscularly as well as under the skin. And it's important for digestive health. So it also helps you to be full, right? So really important. And I think those are probably my top tips. Make it easy for yourself. Whatever is the easiest choice for you to pack or take to work or have on the go, do that. If it's a protein bar, that's fine. It's fine. If you want to pour some peanut butter and some granola on top of a skyr yogurt rather than having to get a bowl out, that's fine. Like, if it means you're going to make a better choice, it's the trade-off is worth it. Remember what your ultimate goal is. So I hope that's been helpful, guys. And this is your first video, which is track macros and calories.